I heard that we hitting at 14th, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I heard that we hitting at Grand Central, let's go. I heard that we hitting at Times Square, let's go. I heard that we hitting at Union Square, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Max. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to the MKH Podcast. I am your host, Maximilian Hill. Tonight we have a wonderful guest. Shenna Grady is a drone operator extraordinaire who has worked at Amazon, and these days she works at Boeing. She's a graduate of Temple University, where she studied entrepreneurship and business administration, and she's just an awesome person. Shenna, thanks for coming on the MKH Podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Max.
So you are a drone operator, and I'm really interested in learning more about that because one, they're really cool. They're a lot of fun, I think, to operate, and two, I think it's a great side hustle for people these days. I know I sat in on, I guess it was Zoom chat or Zoom meeting where people in the drone business were trying to get people into it. So I thought I'd reach out to someone like you who is a licensed drone operator and, see what's what in the drone operating world.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Yeah, so you got, let's see, it looks like a 107 remote pilot license. Now, that's for drones, correct?
Yes, that is for drones.
Okay, so how did you get involved in the drone world first? First steps.
So first steps, it was kind of funny. It was a little bit of an accident. My history, my first job out of college, even when I was in college, I worked at the air traffic control tower in Philadelphia. Helping in the training department, I was helping train air traffic controllers, and the title there is called remote pilot operator. Mm-hmm. And a recruiter actually reached out to me from LinkedIn, and I'd been working there from, I want to say, December of 2020 to this recruiter reached out to me in the summer of 2022 and had asked, like, hey, Amazon has this flight test facility and we're looking for drone operators. I informed them and I was like, I do not have my drone operator's license. Like, I understand my title says this. And then they're like, well, you have aviation background. You look like you know your way around a simulator. Would you be open to getting it? I said, yeah. I would be open. I think it's a really cool opportunity.
Yes, you got to say yes to certain things, and you have to stay open these days because opportunities don't look the way they did 5, even 10 years ago.
No, they do not. Yes. You're correct about that. But one interview led to 3 or 4, and the next thing I knew, I was moving across the country to go work at this flight test facility for Amazon. So I moved from Center City, Philadelphia to Pendleton, Oregon, and I started working at this huge drone operation that was really cool.
It's a big move.
Yeah, it was a huge move, and it was quite jarring in terms of cultural stuff and moving from the center of a city on the East Coast to, they call it the high desert in Pendleton because it is just like all desert, and we were testing drones in wheat fields all day long, so quite jarring of a move. But if you're not uncomfortable, you're not really growing. And yeah, I could get into more of the operations if you're interested.
Yeah. So what is a good model drone for someone who wants to get started, like a novice?
Personally, I did not have a drone before. I started at Amazon. However, now I have a DJI Mini Pro 4. I love it. Its price point is slightly pricey, but in terms of drones, and if you're treating this as either like a hobby or a business, like it takes money to invest in yourself, and it takes money to make money essentially. And I love it. I think it's really compatible. A lot of people have it, so there's a lot of how-tos, how to fix it. You can take it apart, learn kind of like a little bit of the avionics of it, and really get into it and teach yourself a whole lot.
Yeah, I think one of the areas where people can make money with drones is actually real estate. If you partner with like a real estate firm, because they're looking for videos, right? Because videos are powerful in every. I mean,
You're
think about
exactly,
it. When
yeah,
we live in an attention economy, right?
we
So
really do.
there's millions of people trying to grab all your attention, and videos grab a lot more attention. Hence
Yeah,
why a video podcast, not just audio, but
I like that. I like that a lot. But yeah, there's a host of different ways that people don't even realize. So not only real estate, but a lot of insurance adjusters need to like climb up on roofs and check out damage from storms. Um, there's so many different production companies. Um, there's so many different niches that you could really find yourself in and like get a 1099 as like an addition to a company and or just start out by yourself and really kind of venture out and see what's out there and don't say no to anything.
yeah. I think it says here, drone industry is growing rapidly with a projected global market value of $63.6 billion by 2025. So lots of opportunity there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell me about the process that you went through to get your license.
So the process I went through, like I had told the recruiter, I was like, I don't have my drone operator's license, and he asked if I was willing to get it. I said yes, and then he said, okay, like get a background check, make sure you're like good to go, and like get yourself out here, and then you can focus on getting it there. So I had moved, and then almost immediately I was taken into like study mode. It was like 2 weeks, like every single day after work for myself. And keep in mind, I had aviation experience, and I knew a lot of nav aids, fixes, and stuff like that from being in the training department. But even then, so it took me about 2 weeks every single day after work and like two big study sessions on Saturday and Sunday. And then I think I scheduled the test for a Monday, and I passed. So I would say with somebody with like no aviation experience, it's more realistic to take like a month of like looking at stuff. But I mean, anyone who is determined, it could be 2 weeks of every day after work and just really studying, and it depends how fast you absorb the material.
Got it. No. I think it's viable way for people to make money and a fun hobby for sure. For
Oh
sure.
yeah.
So, also another reason that I wanted to talk to you is during my day job, I help students in New York City find internships at companies all sizes. But I know that Boeing, your current workplace, they have a nationally ranked internship program.
They do.
So tell us a little bit about, how has your experience at Boeing been, and what advice would you give to, I guess, anyone who's any college student who's trying to find an opportunity at a place like Boeing?
For sure. I've only been here about a year and a half now, and I will say I've had two interns both summers. One came back for a full-time hire, and he loves his experience here. But yeah, they really take care of their interns, full relocation. I think they even pay for their housing stipend no matter where you move to. But essentially, like before the summer, my one team had met up and kind of said like, okay, what are small incremental projects that we could give this intern for make it like a mutually beneficial experience. A lot of times I know personally in college, I had like an internship experience that was like cold calling 1,000 people a day, and it was absolutely terrible. And nobody on the team had consulted anyone. They're like, what is the intern gonna do? But we kind of give them like small incremental projects that they could really learn and or bring them into meetings and kind of have a more robust system. If somebody was looking to get into it, I would say network, number one. Network with people like myself, or even just go on LinkedIn. It's huge. Search for people in the Boeing company, and if you have somebody that says graduated from your school or any connection you have, people are willing to help you out. If you just randomly message them, and like obviously not everyone, so like take it with a grain of salt, but most people more often than not, will try and help people who reach out to them, who are advocating for themselves. Really smart students. I believe that Boeing just has a test that you kind of like, or preliminary tests after you apply and you get through one round, and they say, okay, this is a great potential candidate, take this test. And after the test, it kind of like is more of like what you want, like what the student would want to do. Anywhere from like business, supply chain, and to engineering. We have groups obviously all over doing everything. We're one of the number one companies in the US in terms of GDP, as well as just manufacturing and engineering. So anything that a student is interested in, my advice would just really be to network, put yourself out there, study for the exam or the test that they have to take, and just do your best and show up confident.
Yeah, all the conversations that I've had with people, with recruiters, anyone who's involved in hiring or internship programs, they all say the same thing: network, network, network. I mean, I even had a conversation with the folks over at Carnegie Mellon, in their career services department. And I said, what do you guys tell your students? Because Carnegie Mellon is like the premier computer science student in the world, school in the world. And you know what they said? They just say network. Now, I think those guys, it's different level of networking, I think. But it seems to be the same thing. Even they told us they had trouble placing some of their students last year, because I think the software engineering job market was very difficult.
Yeah, that's what I've heard recently.
Yeah.
But I've also heard a quote. It's like your network is your net worth.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yep, for sure. And it's a weird thing, because when I was younger, I thought my work would speak for itself. All right, I was arrogant. I thought I knew it all, and it's not true. Unless you're like Elon Musk, your network, your work usually doesn't speak for itself. You have to have a network. And I don't know. It doesn't have to be like an icky thing, right? You can do it in a way that's genuine, right?
yeah,
I think it's the people who are only looking to network when they need something, right? It's
Yeah.
like transactional, right? And it's like, and I get it. If you're out of work and you're looking for a job, it's scary, right? Because you don't feel like you have time to build those relationships, because if rent checks due, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that what I learned the hard way was, you want to build that network before you need it, right? Before you lose the job. So that way, when you are in a bad position, then people will help you out, if you've given to your network and built it up enough.
Precisely. Great advice.
So, any books, podcasts, or blogs that you would recommend to someone who's looking for an opportunity?
Yeah, my podcast for everybody in school in general, or any young people, The One Thing. A lot of people my age and even like older, if you're in your 20s, they kind of are lost a little bit, and they get into, I don't know, cybersecurity, computer programming, drones, anything. They hear it and they're like, oh wow, I really want to do this just because I know it's going to make me a lot of money. And then you're in the industry for a few years, and then you're like, oh geez, like The One Thing really gives you like a sense of purpose. It really kind of centers you in a way, and really makes you think about what you want out of life.
Yeah, I think all the most successful people that I've met, and you can measure success in many different ways. It's not just money. Usually in America, though, it usually means money, right? But they all say the same thing. Money should not be the number one motivator, right? It's an important thing, but usually they say when it's the number one motivator, you run into problems. I don't know. I think especially for early career folks, people, college kids who are starting, I think it's better to focus on learning, because the big earnings will come later on in your career, usually not in the beginning. But okay, so The One Thing.
Yeah, I have three. So
okay.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Another book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yes. Great.
A classic. It was my first book that was given to me by a mentor at a finance internship. And it's something that I reread probably every other year. It's just a great read and good reminders in it. And then The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
Yes, Naval Ravikant. He's terrific.
He is terrific.
Really bright guy, great thought leader. And I mean, his Twitter account is really chock full of value and wisdom. Last question for you. If you could have a billboard that's overlooking the Long Island Expressway, and it could say anything, 10 words or less, what would it say?
Comparison is the thief of joy. Keep going.
I like that. That's great. That's a really good one. And I can tell you, as a former budget analyst at a massive company, that's a good point to keep in mind.
For sure.
All right. So if anyone in my audience wants to get in touch with you, either to learn more about drones or potentially to learn more about opportunities at Boeing, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I would say take my advice, reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message, I believe, even if we're not like connected. But yeah, Shenna Grady on LinkedIn.
All right, Shenna, thank you so much for coming on the MKH podcast. Really appreciate it. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.